For NASCAR fans, immersion in a video game is absolutely everything. Details from specific game modes all the way down to the littlest track details are what separate the good from the great ones. But after all these years, there has always been a game mode concept I have always wanted to see in a NASCAR video game, but have yet to, and that is MyLeague. But before I go into full detail about what I would like to see if this concept ever comes to fruition, we need to explain what this game mode even is.
Hey guys, my name is SOFTDRINKTV, and allow me to explain to you what MyLeague is and why it's such a fun game mode. Most sports video games have a franchise mode where you control a team over the course of decades, but the best of the bunch is easily NBA 2K's MyLeague mode. Remember the super deep franchise and manager modes in older PlayStation 2 era EA Sports games? MyLeague is basically a modern version of that. You can control as many teams as you want, rebrand them with an amazing customization suite where you can upload your own logos and images, create arenas and courts from scratch, and create and share uniform designs. Think of NASCAR 09's paint booth built into the game. The mode tracks stats, injuries, league records, player records, etc. The mode has a database of every champion, MVP, All-Pro, and more. MyLeague also has historic draft classes, allowing you to drop Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and other great or not so great players back into the game. You can download a 2010 roster and recreate the last decade with these draft classes if you wanted to. MyLeague is basically the ultimate franchise mode where you have complete control over everything that happens. And while it has some issues with logic, it has more depth than any franchise mode in existence, on par with text-based manager sims like Football Manager. I find a lot of enjoyment in simulating through decades, rewriting history. In MyLeague, all of this is possible. Out of all the major sports games out there today, 2K has to be my favorite because of this mode. The freedom and control you get is simply amazing.
Now that we're all on the same page, let's get down to the concept. What if NASCAR games had MyLeague? Now, obviously, first and foremost, it would not have the same name as the NBA 2K franchise. I would assume a name to easily go with this concept would simply be My NASCAR. In My NASCAR, you have three options. The first, have a career as a driver. The second, a career as an owner. And third, and would be the most favorite of them all, getting to run NASCAR. Let's say for starters, the max number of seasons you get when this game mode first comes out is roughly 15 to 20 seasons. That's not bad considering in the old NASCAR Thunder games we had exactly 20 seasons for career mode. As far as the driver and owner modes of this concept, I'm not going to go into full detail on what I want. Those game modes aren't exactly new, and we've seen them in multiple versions of NASCAR games over the years. I'm staying strictly with the My NASCAR concept for this video, and if you have any suggestions on what you would like to see in upcoming NASCAR games as far as career mode, leave a comment below in full detail on what you would like to see improved. Now anyways, let's get to My NASCAR. When you first enter this game mode, it'll give you the option to switch drivers throughout the season. If you are playing My NASCAR, you are not exactly held down to one specific driver throughout either an entire season or career. Throughout the seasons, you get the options of either just simming every single season up to season 20, or you can race as multiple drivers throughout the years and decide who wins the championship and who makes the playoffs. At the conclusion of every season, each stat goes into a database, counting wins, top 5s, top 10s, poles, average finishes, average starts, as well as DNFs, laps led, and total laps ran throughout a career. NASCAR fans will literally argue about every single thing, but the one thing I think most fans will agree with is they love stat tracking. Now, of course, stat tracking in NASCAR video games is nothing new. We've had this for decades. It'll also keep track of past champions and the teams they drove for, Rookie of the Year winners, as well as the most poles and laps led throughout each season. The only difference with this is when you go to a driver's stats page, it'll keep track of which teams they have drove for over the years. Which leads to my next concept, silly season. In My NASCAR, we finally have silly season back. In the old EA days, we used to have silly season, whether it was Busch Series drivers or fantasy drivers replacing old Cup Series legends. It was an amazing feature to have in career mode for the time. Keywords for the time. Looking back now, it was extremely flawed, especially in NASCAR 07. The way it worked is a Cup Series driver would retire in that game, get replaced by only fantasy drivers, and then what happens is the Cup drivers end up getting the Fantasy Drivers Cup Series rides. And for some who retire who are also Cup Series regulars in the Busch Series, they never leave the Busch Series ever. As for the NASCAR Thunder games and NASCAR 2005 Chase for the Cup, I love their silly season feature. Usually the driver moves were never realistic, but at the same time, at least they weren't racing in one series forever after retiring from another. Still, for My NASCAR, this will take it to a whole nother level, and here's what I mean. After each season, naturally drivers will retire and never come back, but for the off-season feature, it'll give you the option of choosing their replacements. Now for NASCAR, this is very tricky. What I mean is the current licensing deal we have is not as relaxed as it was 2 decades ago. Some corporate sponsors, I guess, aren't enamored with the idea that a driver in a fictional game mode, by the way, will leave a team and end up going to a different team with a rival sponsor. Personally, I think it's a tad bit overblown. Nobody's gonna care if somebody goes to another sponsor or another team. It's a video game, it's all supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be fiction, but at the same time, from a corporate standpoint, I can understand that to an extent. The only way I could ever see this feature possibly coming back to fruition is if they agree through the manufacturers. What I mean by that is if drivers can switch, they could only switch with their current manufacturer. So let's say Kyle Busch ends up leaving Joe Gibbs and Toyota for God knows what reason in the game, they would have no choice but to go to another Toyota team, which is funny considering there's only like 2 others in the field. I guess until we have a better licensing agreement, that's the best we can hope for. It's funny when you think about what Codemasters did a couple years ago, adding driver transfers to their video game. They didn't seek permission from anybody and just decided to do it on the fly, and it's paid off. They have improved that feature in F1 2020, and I love their career mode. Once you're done switching up drivers in My NASCAR, you also have the option to change up the schedule and possibly add new tracks to the circuit. Now this part is a tad bit of a reach in my opinion. I know it's a feature I would like to have, being able to customize and add new tracks, but that all solely depends on who's making the game and if they have the adequate funds to really back up these features. To go over a couple more dream features for this concept would be being able to customize your own NASCAR Next classes. What this means is you can go in, customize driver stats, as well as driver appearance, and also where they're from, how old they are, etc. Or the second option would be you can download custom draft classes with real upcoming NASCAR Next drivers made by the fans. The 2K community has a massive amount of talent as far as creators. Whether it's making custom arenas or custom uniforms, it is always so beautiful to look at when you're downloading and playing it in the game. NASCAR is no different. I mean, I've been talking over NR 2003 footage for most of this video, and this custom car mod was made by the one and only Noah Sweet. I'm quite sure if we had these features back in a NASCAR console game, we would blow any other community out of the water with our creativeness alone. And finally, the final feature I would like to talk about in this made-up concept is rules changes. This type of feature I don't think has ever been done before, and I feel it would be really hard on the development team to get this exactly right. The rules changes would not only give you the option to change the points format year in and year out, but also would give you the option to change the current aero package. The majority of the fan base has absolutely despised the current aero package, and wouldn't it be cool if a game gave you the option to race 2020 cars like it was 2004 in the Gen 4 era, or possibly like it was 2011 or 2012 in the Gen 5 era? Again, like I said in the beginning, this is all a made-up concept, a concept I would love to see come to fruition in some way, and with a new era in NASCAR console gaming set to take place in 2021, hopefully we will have a game feature similar to this sometime down the road. Everyone's versions of NASCAR are extremely different. Why not create your own? Hence the name My NASCAR. And once again, that'll do it for another video. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Black Flags Matter. Catch you next time.